Fortunate that Mr. Tracy Martin, the father of Trayvon Martin and founder of the Trayvon Martin Foundation, agreed to come to today's event to give opening remarks. The loss of 17-year-old Trayvon has focused attention on black males as nothing else has in decades. Overlaying the disappointment of African Americans in the verdict in the Zimmerman trial are many issues that Trayvon's death brings into sharp focus. With the loss of Trayvon, attention is understandably focused on a civil rights or hate crime cause of action by the U.S. Justice Department. Whatever the Justice Department decides, we hope that today's event focuses us as well on a lasting legacy for Trayvon Martin. Today, Trayvon helps the caucus bring black men and boys to center stage. We begin our mission to take on the challenges facing our men and boys, and we ask our fellow Americans and African Americans to do the same. I'm pleased to ask Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, a vice chair of the caucus, to offer remarks.
I'm Congresswoman Wilson. I represent Miami-Dade County, the same county that Trayvon Martin represented. I'm happy to have here today his father and also the attorney, Mr. Benjamin Crump from Tallahassee with the foundation. I want you to know that there is nothing more important that could be happening today in this nation than what is happening in this room. In 1992, I had been the principal of an elementary school for 12 years. I resigned from that position to run for a school board seat. My parents thought I was crazy. I had 3 minor children to send to college. I was a widow. And they said, "Why are you doing this? Are you crazy?" I said, "I'm doing it because I want to save African American boys from the school to prison pipeline." So I hit the ground running. At the first school board meeting, I introduced a program for African American boys in the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. I called it Reparation for Them. And I wanted the school district to wrap their arms around them and lift them up and let them learn how to be good men in society. The program is 20 years old now, and Trayvon's older brother, Javaris, is a member of the program. He wears the red tie that empowers him. So in our school district, we have a staff of 10 people who operate this program. And what we do is we take our little boys in elementary school, middle school, and high school, and they're mentored in school. They don't have to go to the church. They don't have to go to the Boys and Girls Club. They are mentored while they are in school. We take them on field trips. They travel out of the country. They go to Tallahassee. They're coming to D.C. this summer. And we have to train them because there's no one really to teach them how to be good men. So we have 8,000 boys in the school system, K through 12. We have 5,000 men, judges, police officers, firefighters, all kinds of men who have sworn to raise these boys up to higher heights. So my goal when I was elected to Congress was to make sure that if we can do that in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, every school system in this nation should have a program specifically identified for African American boys. If we don't do that, we're just spinning our wills. And I am so glad that Tracy and Sabrina are starting a foundation to help make some of these visions reality across this nation to help these black boys. These children are angry. They have a hole in their hearts for all kinds of sociological issues that impact black boys that I am so familiar with. So I'm hoping today, when we leave this room, we leave with a commitment that these boys are not to be feared. They are to be loved, that they are to be lifted up and made to feel proud so that they can stay in school, obey the law, listen to their parents, listen to their teachers, graduate, and then we send them to college. We've sent $10 million in scholarships to children in the last 20 years of black boys. There are some in this room. They're all in this Capitol. So I say to you, thank you for coming. This is so important. And Trayvon's murder has brought this to the forefront. Trayvon will go down in history as the martyr who brought to the forefront the causes, the struggles, the suffering of African American boys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to ask Mr. Tracy Martin if he would say a few words to us. You started a foundation in the name of his son, Trayvon, the Trayvon Martin Foundation. Mr. Martin.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank the members of Congress for having me here today. It's certainly an honor and a pleasure, not only to me, but to my family as well, to the Martin family, to the Fulton family. This definitely means a lot. First of all, I would just like to take this time to let everyone know some of the things that they really didn't know about Trayvon. First of all, when we talk about one of the greatest gifts that a man can receive from a woman, I think that greatest gift would be a son. And just to have your son's life taken away from you when you've molded him and becoming an upstanding citizen of this country is heart-wrenching. That's something that you can never get over. I always say that Trayvon was my hero. He saved my life. And not to be there in his time of need, it's real troublesome not to be able to save my son's life. And to have his name slandered and demonized, I think as a father, I think it's real important that my message to the world is that we won't let this verdict sum up who Trayvon was. I vowed to do everything in my power not to give up the fight for him. Not only the fight for Trayvon, but the fight for so many other young black and brown boys of this country. I think the point that President Obama made that 35 years ago that this could have been him was so important to the American people because obviously the most influential man on the planet is weighing in from an African American's perspective, and just to have the President of the United States comment on our situation, it really touched home. And it's moments and comments such as the President made that you know, it sparks the conversation in every household over the dinner table. And that conversation is, what can we do as parents? What can we do as men? What can we do as fathers? What can we do as mentors to stop this from happening to your child? And I think that's where the conversation begins. A lot of our energy that we've channeled, we've taken the negative energy that has been throughout this whole process. We've taken that negative energy and we're trying to turn it into a positive. A lot of people will tell you that nothing positive can come out of death, but I disagree, and I disagree wholeheartedly, because it is what we can do tomorrow as a nation, as a people, to stop someone else's child from being killed is certainly a positive. I'm sorry. And that's why we're putting a lot of our energy into the Trayvon Martin Foundation. Foundation is here for, we're going to advocate against senseless crime, against senseless gun violence. We're going to have mentoring programs. We want to try to educate our communities on the Florida statutes, on the Florida laws, that really we need to understand how these laws apply to ourselves. There are so many positive things that can and will come out of this incident, and that's why we're here. We want Congress, we want the members of Congress to hear. We are the voice for Trayvon. Trayvon, there's nothing that we can do to bring Trayvon back, but if there's something that we can do as a foundation to help other families from going through this, then we're here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martin. You are very kind to come. With Mr. Martin is the man who so ably represents him, Mr. Benjamin Crum. We're pleased that you could be with us as well. The co-chair of the caucus has arrived, and I should ask him if he wants to say opening words at the hearing, at this event.
Thank you very much. The only thing that I really need to say is to thank, first of all of the members of the caucus, and I want to thank you for being the inspiration and part of the reason that we have established this caucus. I want to thank all of the members of the Congressional Black Caucus and other members of Congress who have joined and are in fact attempting to have the caucus function in such a way that we end up with not only looking at problems, but generating results. And then I want to thank our esteemed group of panelists who have joined us. Particularly do I think of two gentlemen that I've worked with for a number of years, a former member of this body, former chairman of this caucus actually, the Honorable Hume, and of course my good friend from Chicago, although he has moved to a lot of other different places, but I think he still calls Chicago home, and that's Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, who is also with us. And I think Mr. Johns, who has a tremendous responsibility of guiding an initiative that deals with education and African American historical institutions. And of course, Mr. Martin, we thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon. We also commend you for the dignity that you have displayed, you and other members of your family, throughout this ordeal. And you are a guiding principle for many of us and for many people in America who love their country, but they also love justice, who love their country, but they also want equal protection under the law. And so with that, Madam Co-Chair, please go right ahead.
Well, I thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. My co-chair has been a leader on black men in this Congress, and particularly on black men and boys who have been incarcerated and other issues facing black men. Now, we just want to just start at the beginning. with black boys. And then